Welcome to the WTF Forum. The hosts do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Opinions are their own. This broadcast contains foul language and dangerous ideas. If you need a trigger warning, you are in the wrong place. Now enjoy the show.
Dear partners and friends of
What the fuck?
Forum, a very cordial welcome.
The WTF Forum is a decentralized broadcast network with no governing body of any kind, and is produced and distributed by a loosely affiliated, ever-growing network of rogue, independent content creators. This forum does not, will not, and shall not have any one location, feed, platform, or channel, but shall be shared and multiplied as nature dictates. If any listener of the following proceedings finds themselves offended, they will be asked kindly to go fuck themselves. All right, welcome to the WTF Forum. It is June 25th. I decided instead of numbering, WTF Forum 13, 14, 15, I'm just going to start putting the dates on them because eventually, ideally, we'll lose track because, different forums will be happening in different places at different times. So that was my thought for today. But we have a couple, returning guests and I want to say at least one new guest, perhaps two new guests. So we'll go around the circle real quick. We'll all introduce ourselves and tell everybody who we are, what we're all about, what we do. Plug your shows, all that good stuff. As always, this is Mike from the Easy Peasy podcast, and I will leave it at that.
Ando, Burn Babylon Burn, The Doom Kitchen, libertylinks.io/The Doom Kitchen.
OG Dadbod, Whole Lot of Nothing podcast, or OG Dadbod 1.
I am the Drizzle, host of Grand Theft World Liberty Radio, and you can find all of my shenanigans at manufacturingreality.org.
I'm Keel Thor. You can find me on the Union of the Unknowns podcast.
Hey, I am Ashley, Think, Change, Repeat, and I'm also on the Union of the Unknowns podcast, and you can find our stuff on Rockfin. Our Linktree page is unionoftheunknowns.com, and you can also find me on Twitter at Union Unknowns.
Hey, Ashley.
Thank you.
Y'all are pals.
We are.
No, I think this is so cool. Just getting like the crossover of different, content creators, different communities. I was joking earlier, like I feel kind of bad because I didn't know who RBL was last week. And even though I've met him a few times, it's Recycle Bin Laden. And so, yeah, partly that's just me being a pot smoking, forgetful dude. Part of it is the fact that I've met so many cool people in the last few months. And, I'm gonna lean on that second reason more.
Right. I was sitting on the Greyhound and I saw that it was just you and Rob, and I scrambled the jets and got all kinds of people to feed, and it turned into a lot of fun. I really enjoyed y'all last week. Yeah,
we ought to get some of the new contributors on our Telegram chat, or find some way of distributing sort of the the links and all that stuff. We always do it at the same time, though, at least for now, 8:00 Sundays. We've missed a couple Sundays here and there. So, it's just kind of casual, but glad everybody made it. We got a good group here tonight, and I think we got some pretty wild topics. I've got like kind of a big topic that we were talking about a while ago in the chat that I think we'll save for just a little bit later. But, I've got one question to start us off, right? Zuck or Musk? Battle, celebrity death match. It's real. The simulation broke, guys.
Yes.
All right, I'll start off on this one because I think it's pretty cut and dry based on the available evidence. and I'll couch my pick that way. I'm going with the Cyborg all the way, Zuckerberg. And
I was going to say, which one? Which one?
It's not only is it not going to be close, it's not going to be pretty, and it's going to be over quick. I don't know if you guys have been checking out some of the videos that he's been releasing of his jiu-jitsu training. Dude doesn't play around. So if Elon has not been putting the equal amount of work in, it's not even going to be a match.
It's already happened on South Park.
I disagree. I got to go with Musk all the way because he knows the whale move, and that'll crush that little lizard boy.
I think he called it. I think he called it the walrus. He said he was just gonna lay on top of Zuck and not move.
Yeah, that's it.
Hilarious.
That's all he needs.
Apparently, Elon claims to have been a street brawler back in South Africa. You know, part of me wants to doubt that, though.
His dad owns an emerald mine. There's no way he was brawling on the streets. That's right. Yeah, he's full of crap.
Yeah.
But his mom is a witch, so maybe he gets some extra powers from that.
But Zuckerberg is a lizard, so
they're probably both lizards.
100%.
I'm gonna have to see both of their Pokemon cards and check out their stats. You know.
So my thought is that I would hope, because of the two, world economic or globalist puppets that I think that they both are, but of those two, I prefer Elon. So I would like to think that Elon will take the lizard in a fight. However, yes, I've seen a little bit of his practicing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Is that what you said he's been training in? And he does seem to be in pretty good shape. However, Elon Musk is quite a bit bigger than him. So weight class does matter. So maybe that'll be, if it's truly a cage match, then that could be a factor.
You know, I know a guy who only weighs about 120 pounds, and he was a high school wrestling champion, and he can beat wholesale ass. I mean, no joke. It doesn't matter how much bigger the other guy is. If the other guy's never been trained in any way, it's like not even a competition. He just takes him to the ground and submits him. And that's what BJJ teaches. Like, it's not so much about striking. It's about submission holds. And, I don't care how big Elon is. You put his arm in a certain position, he's going to tap out in 10 seconds, you know?
Yeah, and we're all the same height when we're on the ground. So
Right.
Well, he does have all of those, cybernetic implants. So even if you get his arm in an arm bar, he's just going to activate some kind of superhuman release mechanism and slide right out of that thing.
Yeah. Might have his brain chip already.
We got Jared, the Permy guy, Limited Supply Designs, in the comments. And he was just here with me chilling the last 2 nights. Another cool crossover of communities kind of thing. We know this gal who basically was in a bind as far as housing goes. She's a part of the community, sort of the freedom, liberty, truth movement. And via these new friendships, Jared and his wife offered to give her a place to live for, the next month or so. And it's a beautiful thing because Jared is trying to move with his wife back to Indiana. And basically, I think she's got family here or whatever. And so the whole idea is this works out. We need somebody that can be helping us out with the move and taking care of our animals, because they're going to make, many trips. They've got birds. They've got, tons and tons of plants they're taking care of. So it just kind of all worked out for everybody. And I just think that's gorgeous. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so, yeah, hoping they, have a nice month of being roommates or however long. But I think Jared might have found a house. That's part of the reason he was here as well. He's been house hunting for a while, and I think they might have found something. So fingers crossed for him. I'll knock on wood. I don't want to jinx it, but house hunting right now, it's no fun. Anywho, anybody got any other fun topics before we jump into the real meat of things?
Well, we did all survive the end of the world again. I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that.
How so?
According to the great prophet, Greta, the world was supposed to end 5 years from the day of her tweet, which would have been June 21st, 2023. And here it is, the 25th.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I think she was claiming that it would be like too late 5 years from now, which isn't exactly saying the world's going to end. More like it's the point of no return. But it, whatever. It's always fun to make fun of Greta. She's just too cocksure for a little bitch. I'm sorry.
She's full of shit.
Yeah.
I don't even think she believes the bullshit she spews.
Maybe not. She's probably getting paid, right? She's making money.
I feel bad for kids like that because I feel like they basically, she was so young whenever she was kind of forced out into that conversation. I almost feel like it's child sacrifice. I feel like there's a lot of child sacrifice happening these days. Like if you're in the trans camp and you're getting your child, gender reassignment, all that stuff, in my opinion, that's a form of child sacrifice. If you're a parent and you're allowing your child to play against, let's say, a trans kid, like the kid in volleyball who had her, not only her nose broken, but I think it was some facial fractures and all kinds. It was a very nasty injury. But you as a parent allow your child to play and participate in that. I think that's a child sacrifice. And then people like these globalists that do this to their kids, that is another form of child sacrifice to me.
That is going to definitely be a theme with my sort of main topic that I have in mind. Some weird, creepy, demonic shit. But I want to ease into that. So yeah. I've got, speaking of psyops, right? Greta and everything else, everything else. I don't even necessarily want to talk about the submarine and all that crap because it's all distraction, right? But here's a pretty good psyop for us. Give me just a second. Where'd it go? There we go. So I imagine some of you saw this.
Get the fuck out of here! Back up! Back up! Get out of here! Get the fuck out! Go! You too! Hold on! Get the fuck out!
For the listener.
Oh my, so many swears.
Lots of swears. Yeah. I hope you're not listening to this in front of your children. But basically what we're looking at here is a rally. Seems like basically sort of a freedom rally of some kind with some of these mask-clad, khaki-wearing, polo shirt sporting, baseball capped possible feds. That's the common sort of theory, is that they're feds. Now, what I find interesting about this, first of all, they're about to get a couple of them get their masks ripped off. Have any of y'all seen this yet?
Yeah,
I've seen it.
I saw him unmasked, and this guy is definitely not a nationalist.
Yeah, Ando thinks his nose is a little long, perhaps.
His last name is Brody. It's he's got the stars in his profile. He's a part of a Jewish fraternity. How certain are we on the ID? Because I think a couple of them they've had names associated with them, but I'm always hesitant. I'm certain on the nose and the ears. So I can spot them like that. It's like I have they live glasses on. But just knowing what I know, it's like, okay, it's an op. And the thing is, these guys are the Proud Boys. They're already an op. They had their leader confessing to the feds, and then these guys are obviously feds now. So we're looking at feds. I mean, that's just how it goes. The media wants a boogeyman, and this is what they're inventing, and it's not going to work.
Well, let's play it out, because I just think there's kind of an interesting dynamic going on here where, yeah, they're not, once the physical stuff starts, right? Some punches get thrown, people get shoved on the ground, and the guys in the masks and the khakis have their hands like up and they're like retreating without turning their backs. And as soon as their masks get ripped off, they like go to hide their faces immediately, like immediately. So here, I'll play the rest. Might skip ahead a little.
Fuck yeah, dog. Bitch, yeah. Fuck yeah, dog. Get the fuck out. T-Master! T-Master! Yeah! T-Master! T-Master! When you talked about my brother, fucking disgusting. You do not talk to people. T-Master! T-Master!
There goes the mask. Covering his face with both hands.
There goes the nose.
T-Master! T-Master!
This is, you know, it's just an interesting situation, man. That's about it. That's about it. But, you know, it's, to me, it's like whether they're feds or Nazis doesn't really make a lot of difference. They're there to instigate. They're there to make the Proud Boys, if that's who this is, look worse, if not, you know, just totally unredeemable. But it didn't exactly work the way they wanted. They just got basically run off immediately, which I think is a good sign in a way. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it all, to tell you the truth.
Well, no, the Proud Boys were saying that that they were calling them racist and getting mad at them. So the Proud Boys are they're the guys that aren't racist. So, you know, because these guys supposedly are. I mean, they're Jewish kids in a costume. Then, you know, this is just something that they want you to see, because they need to invent this boogeyman so that anytime, you know, a Mexican shoots something up, they can go, hey, it's a white supremacist.
So to be clear, this is Proud Boys versus what, Antifa that's happening right in this video?
They have the look of the Patriot Front, but a little less, from what I could tell, a little less uniform. Like they didn't quite all have the same shirt and the same khakis the way the Proud Boys tend to. Also, the Proud Boys, like always, it's kind of their signature, have white masks. And what up, Brandon? Anyways, they always wear white masks, not black masks. So these people are kind of trying to look like Patriot Front, but not totally pulling it off.
I know what we can call it. We can call it the Night of the Long Nose.
You know, y'all are going to get me in trouble one of these days. I swear to God.
Did the guy yelling on the video not sound like the "They Took Our Jobs" guy off South Park?
Dude, he did. He did. I skipped over it like right as he was starting, but he goes, "Be gone! Be gone, you!"
What sparked this thing? Like who started protesting and what in the hell were they protesting? And then other group showed up, and then I don't get it.
The khaki boys showed up, and then the Proud Boys that are, you know, Yellowstone watching rednecks were like, "Hey, get out of here, you racist! This ain't racist stuff. We ain't no racist. Get out of here!" And that's what happened there.
Okay.
I don't really know why they were out there to begin with, the Proud Boys, like what the point was.
The problem is that they're not focused on whatever the real problem is, because, you know, these guys, if they were really out there to, you know, for instance, if they're out there trying to stop some kids getting touched by trannies or something like that, then they're not being very effective. They're fighting in the streets like idiots.
Do we know for a fact where and when this happened? Or is this just some random clip that was thrown up onto the internet and people are just kind of throwing their assumptions onto it?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but let's see what we can find here. I don't know. I think this just happened. I mean, it's kind of like blowing up all day.
But yeah, the virality of it definitely just happened.
Right.
Because I don't remember seeing anything like this before the last 24 hours or so. But that doesn't help us answer the two questions of where and when.
So this guy is saying, this is one of the names that Ando said. Benjamin Brody is one of them. His social media is wiped clean, but his fraternity's bio says he planned to work for the government after graduation.
Cha-ching. Mossad, probably.
You know, again, I can't say for certain that these identities are correct, right? And this guy with the beard, a lot of people are putting him in pictures next to a guy who used to be with the Proud Boys at rallies back in like 2020 and 2021. But I don't know. I probably should have done some more research into this. I just watched it and kind of was like, weird. It just seems weird.
Yeah,
So
he's in all the right places. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say my first thought was good that people who are trying to protest are actually starting to recognize the Fed infiltration and to be on the lookout for that. And that seems like a good thing to me. However, you make a good point when you're like, they want us to see it. So in that case, then it makes me doubt whether or not it was organic. You know, my first instinct is I guess to lean towards hoping that people are actually starting to recognize, you know, the Fed tricks. But maybe, you know, I think things do get promoted by the algorithm intentionally, you know?
Mm-hmm. So somebody hit on the same point. I think it was OG Dadbod said, this is a South Park episode. Like that Tucker Gerbs. Yeah. Like, hey, we're the ones fighting for America. You can't be the ones fighting for America. I'm fighting for America. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the world has literally become what The Simpsons and South Park. I mean,
yeah, I don't see any details as to where it was. Yeah, we also had apparently neo-Nazis waving flags in front of a synagogue. Classic. Yeah, just weird shit, man. People.
I mean, it is summertime. You know, people like to get out and enjoy the weather.
Yeah. Dude, just today, like, so I was talking before we went live. We had some like tornadoes go through. Nothing touched down near me, but anyways, the sirens were going off and like just the mood shifted, right? Like it was a sunny, beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky. Half an hour later, the skies go dark, the storm sirens kick on, and within like 30 seconds, you know, I'm sitting out having a cigarette, you know, and I see somebody hit and run a parked car. Nothing, you know, major as far as damage, but we were like, holy shit, we heard it, and they just scooted. And 30 seconds later, a car like turns left real quick into the alleyway and almost runs somebody over on their bicycle going down the side, you know, the bike path. And it was just like boom, 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 all this like chaos in the air. The electricity rose. And it's like that heat of summer. Like people are drinking, people are, you know, getting hot and sweaty and pissed off and want to like hit somebody, and shit's just weird in the summer to some degree.
Bad things happen in threes.
Did you happen to catch that Chicago hot dog situation?
No.
So some woman and this man are in line for hot dogs, and they start getting into it. And she texts her 14-year-old son to come in and handle the guy. Meanwhile, the guy, things have escalated between the woman and the man, and he's punching her. Son walks in, blasts him, and then they go out to the car, and she wants him to take out one of the witnesses that was laughing whenever she got hit. It's pretty crazy, you know, wilding out in Chicago. Summer.
He totally ragdolled the guy too when he shot. I mean, just like you cut a string, just straight down.
I'm thinking I might have found it here. You tell me, Ando.
It's like a 50-second clip.
Well, I found like a news thing. Does this look right? Is this the hot dog stand?
Can you pull up Instagram on your computer?
Yep.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
All right. Yeah, just do that. Well, yeah, wilding out, man. We've been covering it. So apparently like 4 people got shot this weekend, a couple miles north of where I am in Indy, right out in front of one of the busiest bars. Luckily not a bar that I would like to go to ever, but it used to be like a college bar. Like it used to be where, all the college kids went. Now it's turned into like fucking seems like gangs and shit, dude. Like the guy who I know is the bouncer there, he was the one that told me today. And he says, yeah, last night we had to, hose the blood off the sidewalk. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, all these people got shot right in front of the bar. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? He said, I don't know, man. And he's a very leftist guy. And even he goes, let me just say, like, it's gotten a little more urban in there, if you know what I'm saying. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like, I know what you're saying. I mentioned to him that, the mall brawls that were happening all over the place. And yeah, just black kids killing each other, man, for no good reason.
Scholarly behavior.
Oh, well, it's a shame is what it is. It makes me sad.
Well, I think part of it has to do with the fact that so many businesses, venues, other arenas where this activity used to take place, not trying to apologize for any of it, just trying to look at it from a somewhat rational perspective. But there are so many places that have shut down in the United States over the course of the last 3 years. A lot of those places being, where folks would go to meet up, and even folks that are into, let's call them criminal enterprises, they go to public places to meet up too. And now there's fewer of those places for people to go. So to me, it just kind of makes sense that, if you have a criminal element in your society and you reduce the amount of places that people can gather, you're likely to see crime happening in more places because you have fewer places as a sample size. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to chime in that, and I do think that especially in very poor areas like that, when you maybe have like a ghetto situation or urban or whatever. I know a couple of school teachers who both worked in that kind of environment before and after COVID, and they really noticed a significant change in the behavior of the kids after having been homeschooled. And so, and obviously in this, like in the freedom and liberty community, I think that you need to have a healthy skepticism of authority at best. For me, I'm quite a bit further on that line, like I really have disdain for authority and someone trying to tell me what to do. However, I think there's a balance, like, and I don't even want to get into public school, right? But just if kids go to public school, then you would think that they would mostly behave. Like, obviously, I think it's a prison, but I'm just saying before it wasn't that bad. And they did have a little bit of respect for the authority of the teachers. And then after they were homeschool or online, it was like something changed and they realized that they didn't have to respect this authority at all. So it was quite bad when they came back. And so I think that maybe there's an element of that as well. And then one other crazy thing that I wanted to throw out there is that there's a guy, Space Weather News on Twitter, and he has a Suspicious Observers channel on YouTube. And he talks about the magnetic fields that protect us from the radiation from the sun are weakening, and they're weakening at an increasingly faster pace these days. And he has said this several times, that he believes that is affecting people's mental health. And that is why we see so many people losing their shit these days too. So maybe it's a combination of a ton of things, but those are just my 2 little things I wanted to throw out there.
I think it's definitely multifactorial. And, even like nutrition probably has a huge role to play here as well. Poor communities, poor diet, poor behavior. I mean, it's like a cycle. And the worse it gets, the worse it gets.
The word lunatic comes from the pull of the moon on the tide, and they say that it makes people crazy. So this radiation thing might mean something. It might be significant.
I think the post-COVID aspect of it is largely explained by the lack of accountability that kids had for a year and a half or 2 years when they were all remote and they didn't have a teacher in front of them really, and they weren't having to make good grades at all because they were just getting passed at at various classes and stuff. So I think it just comes from that, and parents can't keep track of their kids constantly while they're sitting in front of their laptops. I remember seeing high school age kids showing up at Arby's when I was going to lunch from when I was at work during the day. So they were just hanging out at Arby's and they had their laptops up, but who knows what the hell they were, if they're actually paying attention or not. And I think that was a big part of it. There's going to be a whole generation of kids that are just left behind, basically, and hopefully the generation after that will just kick their asses and make the world better.
Yeah, and I don't think that there are enough people talking about what you just touched on, which is that we now have an entire generation that was on purpose, mind you, developmentally interrupted, and we had no idea what type of effects that was going to manifest as going into the future. We're just now starting to see that particular wave from COVID crest, but there's more waves behind this one when it comes to the psychology of these children. I really think we need to, as a species, as a people living on this world together, we need to put a lot more of attention onto that, because these kids are going to require a lot of different care from what we have been used to, even with what we've been suffering with the rise of autism over the course of the last 30 years or so. That's a couple of generations right there. I saw it back in late 2020. I started thinking about this, like what type of effects this was going to have on the psychology of these children. And I've been thinking about it a long, long time, and I have yet to come up with even a handful of positive outcomes. So I definitely think we need more attention in this area.
A lot of us rang those alarm bells at the beginning of COVID, saying there will be second, third, fourth order effects from these lockdowns. And the longer it goes, the worse it's going to get. And we saw what happened after 3-4 months of lockdown before the riots. I think that was inevitable. You lock people up that hard for 3 or 4 months, and then they tried to do that slow, we're gonna little bit less lockdown. You have some of your freedoms back, but there's still you got to do this, that, and the other. And people got kind of used to the lunacy, but I don't know, man. Yeah, people. Like Stella Q says in the comments, she says tyranny will make people lose their shit. So, yeah, it's a reflection of the craziness from above, right? It's like, I don't know who said it recently, but their looting, stealing, and killing is causing people on the ground to loot, steal, and kill. Because it's like, who cares? Fuck it. What's it matter?
Yeah, plus you have some of these super progressive cities. I think we know that with this, the billionaire influence over the attorney, or who is it? who makes the decisions to like try a case or not to try a case?
DA.
DA. Okay. So with these infiltrated DAs not going after that behavior, and we've all seen the Clown World videos from San Francisco, right? Where they just go in these stores and they wipe them out, and there is no accountability for that. Then that is circulated all over the internet too. So I think that is also feeding into that. These people, and especially kids, if they're poor, then they're seeing this and they're like, oh, I can have what I want without consequence. Nothing will happen to me. And then when nothing happens, that also reinforces that behavior spiral.
Yep.
Wood chippers. I'm still a fan of the wood chipper.
Well, it seems like we probably covered that. Maybe we get into the main topic. There's a few other like small things in the Telegram that we could touch on later, but this is some weird shit coming up. I know that some of us are probably more aware of this than others, but it's kind of come out in the last few months, this weird thing called the center of the world. Has anybody here not heard about the center of the world?
I have not.
Okay.
I've heard of the journey to the center of the world.
Well, that's not what we're talking about. But
I thought the center of the world was myself.
of course, Ando. Of course. You're the main character. We're just supporting. But this here is the center of the world, believe it or not. And it's in the middle of the desert in California, and it's the weirdest, most occult, bizarre shit ever. So check this shit out.
This is the center of the world. Yeah, it's a real place, and it's in the middle of nowhere, but not exactly hard to get to. All you have to do is travel to the southeasternmost part of Imperial County and exit Interstate 8 before you hit the Arizona border. Turn right at the center of the World Boulevard. Then, when you see the sign to the town of Felicity, drive past the stairs to nowhere and park just outside the small pyramid.
Welcome to Felicity.
Thank you. And if you're lucky, the mayor of Felicity will greet you. What year did you start Felicity?
When I sold my company, I had a few dollars, and so I decided we moved to the bare desert here.
There's two things you need to know when you first meet 93-year-old Jacques-Andre Estelle. First, you better be able to keep up. How far does it go back?
Over a quarter century. This is the history of the U.S.
And second, he rarely gives short or direct answers to your questions. These monuments here, these are for future humans.
Well, come with me.
It's really hard to explain why the center of the world is located in the Algodones Desert, but the short story is this.
I thought it would be nice to buy a township of pure desert and do something with it in my old age.
Born in France, Jacques and his family fled to America after Nazis made advances in World War II. At age 14, he hitchhiked across the United States and eventually joined the Marine Corps. His resume includes everything from banking to real estate and even competitive parachuting. The guy circumnavigated the globe in his own plane, and in the mid-1980s, he gave up everything to build a town on 2,800 acres of Imperial County desert. Felicity, who's it named after?
It's named for my wife. I figured that naming a town for her was cheaper than buying her a fur coat.
All right, this dude is so weird and so full of shit.
Those are scripted jokes.
Yes, he has
bad.
his script, which has been curated over many years. Now, I'm not saying this man is stupid. I'm saying he's full of shit and weird and creepy. And there's so much symbolism going on with the architecture and layout of this facility. I'll play the rest here in a second, but this is why this is like a meaty topic. I've got like a few sort of
Anybody been out in this area before other than me?
No, you've been out this way?
Oh yeah, it's El Centro, Calexico, Imperial Valley. It's I used to deliver out there quite a bit. I didn't know that this exists, so now I have to go check it out just because I would like to see his spin on the history of the world that's all over these tablets. And you know, I could actually probably find all of it online. I'm sure that somebody's taken a snap of every single thing, but this
I
is
would
something.
hesitate to step foot on this piece of ground personally.
You really?
I very much would.
I don't get those feels. I didn't even have those feels about the Georgia Guidestones, which, you know, I would have gladly have gone there and maybe scribbled something, or, you know.
Well,
something.
so this is, I think this is very connected with the Georgia Guidestones. Very connected.
I think you may be onto something there.
So for the listener, they were showing these granite like walls with all these what we'd call in like the outdoor education world, we'd call it interpretive signage, okay? Depicting the history of the world, a combination of what do you say? Pictures, graphs, timelines, you know, captions. You've all seen it when you go to the park, you look at the placards and it tells you all the history and whatever. Now, the reason that it's significant, the way it's done, it's very expensive to engrave granite. It's very time consuming. It takes a professional. This guy is sinking millions and millions of dollars into this project. And apparently it's just for the fun of it. You know, I don't buy that. I don't fucking buy that. And Stella had a good point in the comments. Okay. The Journey to the Center of the Earth, right? Written by Jules Verne in like 1900 or so. He died in 1905, but he wrote Journey to the Center of the Earth, 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas, and Around the World in 80 days. They call him the father of science fiction, okay? I think this is all significant. I didn't know that about Jules Verne being a Freemason, though. That's what Stella says. So that's interesting. Any comments before I play on?
If I were this guy and I had that kind of money, this is the kind of shit I would do.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, he's made a lot of fucking money. I think he sold his damn soul to the devil, though. So that's my theory. Let's keep watching.
Money he saved from the fur coat went directly to decades of property development, starting off with this pyramid-shaped monument, to which he convinced the Imperial County supervisors to pass a law proclaiming that this spot was the center of the world.
Property laws define the boundaries of countries and are recognized by the United Nations. And 4 years later, we received international recognition.
It's a little unclear whether or not Jacques' legal explanation will hold up in court. Either way, it hasn't stopped his growing obsession with monuments. First, with these steps, which came from the original Eiffel Tower. Then, a monument to Korean War military members. And eventually, his biggest monument of all, the History in Granite. Who is the History in Granite for?
It's for, hopefully, humans of the future.
Day in and day out, since about 2002, etchers like Shelley Evans continue to describe small summaries of world history on about 416 different granite slabs.
I may not retain the information, but it's nice to learn a little bit while I'm working.
Jacques researches and writes the historical summaries himself, and they document everything from Greek philosophy to animal evolution. Because the history is literally written in stone, Jacques believes they could last over 4,000 years.
I'm told that the monuments may be buried in an earthquake. And my answer to that is, think how happy future archaeologists will be.
Jacques' latest monument is this 150-ton dirt pile that he calls the Hill of Prayers. At the top is a replica of a French-style chapel where weddings and daily prayers take place. Jacques says the bell that rings at the top was a gift from a French ambassador.
When it arrived, it was so heavy we had to rebuild the whole top of the church.
Jacques says he may not be alive when all the tablets are finished, and that's okay. His nonprofit will continue etching, and in his mind, the most important message of all is already written in stone.
May distant descendants, perhaps far from planet Earth, view our collective history with understanding and affection.
From the center of the world in Felicity, California, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the back road.
Okay, so this guy is making a nuclear winter-proof tablet of history slash symbolic site. Okay, and it's kind of weird. I don't know. What are your thoughts at this point?
Yeah, he's it said he hitchhiked across the USA. You know what? I think this guy just has in his mindset the kind of Route 66, world's largest ball of twine kind of attractions in his mind. So he's got that Stairway to Nowhere, he's got that other monuments and stuff. I think if this is an innocent thing, that explains it in my head anyway. He's just trying to spend his money and he's trying to do it in a creative way that's whatever, something lasting, you know. It's people
That's a very generous, that's a very generous take.
I think that's a very generous take.
Normie, as some people would accuse Keel of being.
I mean, certainly there's symbolism in there, the pyramid and the church on the hill and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know.
It looks super occult and weird to me.
It does. It really does. And whenever I encounter something for the first time, and I don't recommend that everybody do this, but typically the first thing that I do is I go straight to see if there's a Wikipedia page for the thing or the person behind the thing. And it just so happens that there is a Wikipedia page for Jacques-André Istel. It says he was born in Paris, France in 1929, is a French-American recreational parachutist and investment banker, and later in life a historian, widely responsible for popularizing parachuting in the United States. He is considered the father of American skydiving. So just a regular, ordinary guy that never did anything.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, he's an eclectic character with a sordid kind of past, and he was obsessed for most of his life with flying. Essentially, he flew around the world. He parachuted like a madman. He developed new parachute technology. I'm saying he's a very intelligent, but I would argue sinister person. Okay, and I think this whole plan started like a long ass time ago. I believe he bought the property in 86. The weird part is he wrote a children's book in 84. Okay. I'm going to show these in reverse order from what I thought I was going to do, but we're going to look into his children's book first. Whoops. Just a second.
You sure he's just not some kook with a bunch of money? I mean, or is there more?
You tell me, man. Like I said, there's more to this story yet. That's why you got to bear with me a little bit while I figure out the details.
I bet it's tame in comparison to today's children's books.
Maybe not. Okay, so here we go. Struggling a little bit with the computer things as always, but here it is.
Argolex next mega tour. This is a solemn dragon blessing and encouragement. Oh boy.
All right, so I skipped ahead. You know what? Let me give you the first like 30 seconds and then we'll jump to the weird stuff. Where he kind of shows you what the book looks like here.
Cancel culture, all of these things didn't used to exist, but now pages. And at the end of the show, I'm going to show you an update on the Honey Milk Ranch. We'll try to end on a positive note. And but for now, we need to get through this book, the Dragon at the Center of the World. And these end pages say it all. A circle of dragons eating their own tail. The Ouroboros. Now, also, there's an occult date in the pages here.
So this guy does a lot of the like numerology stuff, which I'm not typically one to buy into. And he's a very slow talker, which is why I'm going to just jump ahead to this like super bizarre shit.
And dangerous. Good luck and good courage. Argolex next Megatour. This is a solemn dragon blessing and encouragement. Oh boy. Now, what is this by your likeness? Well, when you go into Google Earth, you can almost make out some kind of bizarre dragon-like feature in the landscape. Maybe we'll look at that at the end of the show here. Let's keep going.
He's talking about the landscape of Felicity, the town.
Ko thanked Wad. Then he studied and studied and studied and studied. He memorized maps of the surface and found in a warm part of a great free country the Chocolate Mountains. Dragons, like ourselves, like chocolate. So he studied all the maps. You got France, Ireland, Mexico. But look at how China is broke apart here on its own side of the page with Wuhan at the center. Felicity.
Did anybody notice how that, he only showed it for a second, but that map of China with Wuhan at the center, there's a, what is it, longitudinal up, north-south line, like a hashed line. And basically with Wuhan sitting right on a longitudinal line. And there's some longitude latitude stuff going on with Felicity as well, where it's right on the 33rd parallel, and the significance of 33 I don't quite fully grasp, but I know that it's supposedly significant. Maybe
you're being for reals, right? It's on the 33rd parallel.
Pretty much. It's like 32.8. It was like as close as he could get conveniently, I think. Maybe.
What other evidence do you need?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're being facetious, but it's kind of a thing worth noting. This guy has a very keen sense of sort of maps and coordinates, I guess you would say. I don't know. And he, even in his children's book, like there's just so much weird, like hints, little weird details. So let me play it on.
Did anybody see in his locations he had Bimini on the bottom left there?
I did not see that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was kind of neat.
Yeah, right here.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Felicity. And it shows a dragon statue here. And this is where they decided to build. It says, while reading the Dragon Times, Ko saw that near the Chocolate Mountains, a pioneer named Jay was building a house at a place named Felicity. This means happiness, and there was the likeness of Ko. This is it, said Ko. Eureka, he set forth. Ko says goodbye to his parents. Ko then said to Jay, only you can speak to dragons. Bring me questions from human beings. Only you can find me and enter my secret place. I need privacy for a few hundred years. I can fly at night when no one sees me. My scales reflect radar. Wow. Center of the world. After studying the stars, Ko said, I declare officially to all humans and dragons that here at Felicity, California is the official center of the earth. And here at Felicity, California is also the official center of the world. UJ will build a monument at this very spot. And that's exactly what he did.
So this book is like a foretelling of his plan, basically. I'll go back here just a hair. You'll see this pyramid with the center of the world written over it and the sign Felicity, right? Behind it, there are 4 houses. And I'm going to say that now is just a little foreshadowing. But when this same guy, he did 2 different videos, one all about the book and one all about the place. And he's very long-winded, and they're like hour-long videos. But I don't know, for anybody who this tickles their fancy, I'd actually recommend watching him. He goes by Stars. What is it? Into the Stars, I think. So he's like some kind of science fiction guy, but he's clearly very interested in the occult as well. But yeah, it's like he had the image of what the place was going to look like even when he wrote this book, 2 years before buying the property.
What he did.
Is that 4 houses? It looks like
4
2
houses
houses to me.
No, it was 4. Yeah, if I could zoom in I guess I can. Oh, you're right. Is it? It's just 2.
They're foreshortened.
Yeah, well, so there are 2 buildings at the entrance of like right by the pyramid, and then there are 4 houses to the side. So I don't know. I missaw that. I thought it was 4. You're right.
I need privacy for a few hundred years. I can fly at night when. Okay. And here's the creepy part. I send a kiss. Be sure to let it cool to each boy and each girl on earth. And dear children of all ages, as you go to sleep at night, you can feel on your cheek the warm and gentle kiss of Ko, the good dragon, at the center of the world. The end. How creepy is that? The story is dedicated to children of all ages.
Time to check his hard drive.
That's probably enough of that video. But Ko, C-O-E, center of Earth, which I find, whatever. It's kind of on the nose, right? But clearly this guy is a symbolic person, okay? Like, it's super apparent that he believes in symbolism and he takes it quite seriously. So like the layout of the place itself should not be understated. And that's what this is all about here. I don't know. Any thoughts up to this point?
This guy's a really shitty marketer.
What, this podcaster or
no, the guy who wrote the book.
Oh, well, nobody's bought it. There's only so many copies, and they go for like $500 a piece.
That's not money laundering.
I don't think he's selling them. I think it's all resale.
Yeah, that happens whenever something's a small print and there's not that many copies out there, and then people sort of catch on that there might be some significance, and that's pretty big in this situation. So I'm sure that people that are investigators and things like that are the ones that are hanging on to these copies.
All right, so here we go.
And right, 8 and 6. Then you've got all this. I guess this is the Granite Museum. So these are these granite pyramidal walls that you walk along, and it's got all of the different.
All right, I'm pausing for a second here because I want you to notice. He doesn't notice it for quite some time, but look at these parallel lines of apparent holes that were dug. Kind of looks halfway like a grave site, but I'm not suggesting that it is. That's actually not my theory. I'll tell you my theory after we. This is a multi-step process here to get the whole picture, and I apologize it's taking so long, but it's necessary.
Significant points in history. Now, as far as I can tell, this is a north-south alignment. I think this is the chapel on the hill. I think that's it. It's probably got to be. Elevation 315 feet. And
that's significant.
This elevation, yes, this is lower. So this must be the chapel on the hill. Now,
So yeah, there's significance to every detail. Like that to me is abundantly clear. Like as a gardener, like I see the layout, the way he's built this environment, and it's very purposeful,
So what's significant about 315?
I don't quite know. Do you know if there's any significance to that number? But
well, that's the question.
Right.
Why was that particular number chosen? Why is it 315 and not 320 or 310?
You all saw on the previous video or the news clip or whatever. It's a pretty fucking big hill. he brought in a lot of soil.
Well, there's that, and if you just look at the layout of what we can see from the aerial view, everything about this building complex was deliberate. If that mound is 315 feet high, there is a reason for it. It's not arbitrary.
Oh, and it's not a hill; it's a pyramid. It's a pyramid.
Isn't there what's that Bible verse 3:16?
Yeah,
Maybe it's
John 3:16. Yeah,
he was trying to hit the 3:16 mark.
Well, so this guy's using Google Earth, so there's probably a margin of error. Like it's giving altitudes, but it's approximate. Anywho, check this out. This is the weirdest shit.
Struck my eye here. You can probably see it too. Let me zoom this over so you can see this a little bit better. Look at this. What do you see there? I see something evil. This looks like the snake has eaten the chapel on the hill. Can you see it? I see it as clear as day. Let's go back into the chat and see if you guys can see this, and then I'll outline it for you if you can't see it.
Gonna skip ahead a little bit while he looks at his chat, and he's gonna draw out what he sees. Here you go.
Wow. So the interesting thing is if you look at the actual chapel, it's enclosed in a hexagon. So it's the hex on God because the devil rules this world, doesn't he? So the enemy has put a hex around it. That's just spooky.
So I'm going to say I think the only person maybe on planet Earth more symbolic than Jacques, whatever his name is the guy making this video, because he might be over analyzing some things, right? He sees a lot of symbols, but some of them I think are legit.
That this is a high place that's significant in the Bible. All of whenever they were making monuments to uncapitalized gods, the lowercase gods, the lesser gods, they would do it in high places, and a lot of those weren't destroyed. So and just it's sort of significant that he's made this area into an elevated place.
Yeah. Everything about it was deliberate.
Let's zoom in. It's actually an octagon.
Again, I'll skip ahead a little bit.
Get a viewpoint of this here. See how this whole thing is raised up? So the serpent's literally on a step pyramid. I mean, this can't be good. What is this guy thinking? Obviously, we know what he's thinking. Now, it almost appears as though there's some kind of, maybe some underground structures. Let's take a look here. Look at that. Yeah, that's on some kind of step pyramid. Then we have the 8-pointed star. There's another pyramid down here. 2 other buildings. I don't know if these are ponds or trees. I can't really tell.
There's no trees out there.
Of course, is a checkerboard. The chess pieces. This is 8 by 8 squares. So this is a chessboard.
That's significant.
Wow. Here is probably the serpent wrapped around the pole that we saw. The staircase from the Eiffel Tower looks like that's probably what this is here. Now, what is
the Eiffel Tower was also built by a Freemason. And the spiral staircase does look an awful lot like a serpent wrapped around a pole.
In the lodges and apparently from what I'm hearing in Mormon temples, the floors are checkerboarded.
Yep.
And that's the trading floor for dark deals.
Yep. Checkerboard is an obvious Masonic symbol.
Should we keep watching? just a little more. I think he loses my interest here eventually, but
the chessboard about, well, this is how they keep us all locked in duality. This is why I talk to you guys so much about the right-left paradigm and not getting stuck in thinking that these leaders have your best interests at heart. It's great to have conservative values and morals, but to think that the people at the top actually have your best interests at heart is not the case. They all work for the enemy. And when we vote, we give consent. The Where's Waldo of Felicity, California.
So I just skipped ahead to show these holes.
Now, I'm not sure about the Rothschild connections to this. I know that was mentioned on Joe Rogan.
So I'm going to pause it there. We don't need to hear him anymore. But you see how these are laid out in a grid, and some have faded more than others, but there's these dots on a grid, right? And he goes back through like the satellite imagery, and they've been there like since the start of the satellite imagery. And to me, I'll just say it now. No need to tease it anymore. To me, that looks like an archaeological dig site. Somebody was looking for something there. That's my theory.
Yeah, could be. Could just be something that was there in the landscape before he bought the place.
It looks very unnatural, though.
Well, I'm not saying it's natural. I'm just saying whoever had that land before he used it for whatever purpose, and that's just kind of left over from that. But yeah.
Well, I would agree with you if it wasn't for this next bit of evidence, okay, which I only just discovered like an hour before we got on here. I'm not sure if this is the same guy who did this. Nobody knows who did this. It's also in California, out in the desert. I'm not sure exactly how far from Felicity, but this has the same holes and similar symbolism. So I'm assuming it was our guy, Jacques. Check this shit out.
So here we are out in the middle of the California desert, about 2 miles north of Interstate 8 and about 13 miles west of Yuma, Arizona, to visit another mystery of Google Maps, the Mound. To get to the Mound, you exit Interstate 8 at Sidewinder Road at Felicity. Felicity is where the center of the world is located at. We do have a video on the center of the world, which I'll link in the description. And apparently, while Felicity is the center of the world, Sidewinder is the end of the world. Down Sidewinder, you take this paved road. It does become a dirt road for the last quarter mile or so, and it'll be on your left-hand side once it becomes a dirt road. And so here we are in the middle of nowhere, and here is the Mound. Nobody really knows why this is here, but there is a mound of quartz rock surrounded by statues in a circular kind of keyhole shape. There's not really a whole lot of information online about this. There's one article on Roadside America, and that's about it. So nobody really knows why this is here, but it is listed as the Mound on Google Maps. And there's all these angel statues all around. Surrounding the mound. And we'll get a closer look at the mound itself. And you can see there's this quartz rock surrounding the inner circle. Or the inner circle is made out of quartz rock. And here's the mound. There's another angel. You see there's some flowers have been placed in there. Don't know if this is a memorial to somebody or what its purpose is. Somebody made a heart out of these rocks. And there's several stone pathways coming from different directions leading to the mound. There's a couple more statues in that direction. There's another angel over
Could
here.
you do a close up on the statue at the altar?
Sure.
Leading. And here's the mound.
She's holding something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is. But I found it interesting actually on watching this time around. That's the only angel looking at the mound. All the other angels were pointing away.
So they are all winged figures.
I think they all were. We could go back.
Here's the thing. Our brains are likely to interpret them as angels because of the society that we grew up in. That does not necessarily mean that that's what they're representing.
Okay, creepier yet, this one's a little kid angel.
Cherub.
Yeah. Well, and is that what they're called?
Yeah.
And also like the whole thing about the dragon, right? Like winged creature, sort of a hellacious as opposed to a heavenly one. But I'm trying to find where you can clearly see the holes dug all around on the same kind of grid.
So there's a bunch of mounds that are much larger than this. This is a tiny mound as far as I know, but there's a bunch of mounds in North America, and there's speculation that that's where giants are buried.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of like Indian mounds and stuff in my part of the world, and through the southeast. My only question is, all these people are looking at Google Maps and going out there. Is there any evidence of somebody talking to locals? Because I would almost bet money that somebody knows exactly when this popped up, because this didn't just show up overnight. Somebody's got to have some more info on this.
I mean, this is a fairly remote area, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you tell me, Ando, you're familiar. It's right outside of Yuma.
It's out. There's a bunch of dunes down there. A lot of guys go and ride on the sand and things like that. What's interesting is another thing in the area, just north of there, is Slab City. If y'all have heard of that, that's where a bunch of like homeless hippies, or I guess Slab City is their home, so they're not really homeless. They have their little art installation out there, and that's all the things in that little corner of California. There's really not much out there, though. It's pretty desolate area. It's a beautiful drive.
My point is that it would not be hard for somebody to sort of do this without getting noticed. If there's nobody,
right?
This is at the end of some place called, what was it? Was it Rattlesnake, or was it a Sidewinder? Sidewinder, a snake.
Yep.
And okay, so I think there's a little more good stuff in this video.
But it looked like to me what could have been under the arm of that one statue could have been a bundle of arrows.
Really? Yeah, it's hard to say.
See, like the flights are to the left and the points are to the right.
Yeah, sort of. I was
Maybe.
thinking like maybe a flower of some kind, but I don't know. It's weird. It's tucked under her arm, it seems, not in her hands.
It looks like something you'd go buy at a garden center to put out in your yard.
Yeah.
I'm sure this was deliberately made the way that it is, though, if this was the work of this guy.
I was gonna say, I mean, with the resources that this guy has, these almost look to me as kind of one-offs. It's hard to say with like plaster statues. I mean, that one looks maybe kind of store-bought, but it's kind of hard to say, man.
What are the two figures in the background? Is that part of the mound?
Those are two more angels.
Are those Virgin Marys in the back?
It kind of does look like the Virgin Mary, actually. I don't see wings on these two. Could be Joseph and Mary.
Well, can you pull this up on Google Maps or Google Earth or whatever?
Sure, I can. I'll try.
I don't know
No.
if we're gonna crack any sort of code on this thing, though. I mean,
No.
it is fun to explore the mind of an eccentric like this, or seemingly eccentric. You know,
Seemingly eccentric. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's a shit ton of effort, and that's the suspicious part. That's why I'm like, I think this guy might be communicating with Satan and being told what to do.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. If you thought that it was channeling energy, because the people that have done a lot of studying on this, like Isaac Weishaupt, he will talk about that when they do, like Rihanna is at the Super Bowl and she does the triangle of manifestation, that even though we as regular people do not feel that there's any effect to doing that, that the people that practice this kind of stuff actually do believe that it is channeling power. Mm-hmm. So is that kind of what you're thinking with this, but on a huge scale?
I mean, I'm just thinking it's very occult. It's very, very occult. And I never gave a whole lot of thought to the occult until more recently, you know, but like a lot of people put a lot of energy into building these things, you know, and have for a very, very long time. Okay. Since prehistory, right? I mean, there have been step pyramids and, you know, labyrinths and, you know, concentric circles of various shapes and sizes. And, you know, Serpent Mound is a site, I want to say in Southern Ohio. I've never been, but it's a massive mound complex.
That's in Idaho.
It's either in Illinois or Ohio. I can't remember for sure.
I think there's a few of them.
Maybe so.
Mike, do you want me to try to share the Google pictures of this?
Sure, you got it.
Well, I'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just show you the last like 30 seconds of this, because there's one more weird thing that just makes literally no sense, except maybe in terms of like the connection with that weird ass children's book, because there's this wall. Okay.
And a little bit off in the distance, there's a wall. I'm going to go check it out and see what that wall is as well. So that random wall out here is just what it appears to be, just a random wall. Doesn't seem to have any purpose. Just a random wall out in the middle of the desert. I mean, somebody built this for some reason, and so somebody had a purpose for building it. Whatever that purpose is, I have no idea. So that's the mound.
Okay, do you see them now? Check it out. These holes.
Yeah.
These parallel lines where someone has clearly dug. That's to me the biggest mystery of this whole thing. And I think that wall maybe was just a little nod to the children's book, because it's like that castle wall with the, you know, the slots in it. I don't know what you call them, but
that would make sense.
So it reminds me of like, you know, fairy tale, like dragons and knights and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the holes dug in the ground is this, like, nobody has any explanation there. My theory, like I said, before any of this shit was built, somebody did a massive sort of archaeological dig of some kind. Even if it was with a bulldozer, they were digging around looking for something at both of these sites.
Yeah. You want me to pull these up?
Yeah.
It's kind of strange.
I think that wall was just a road sign. But they didn't have anything currently on.
Maybe.
Like no message on there.
Well, but it was like cut out of a storage container. It looked like it was that kind of corrugated metal.
Aluminum siding.
Yeah. Or yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Maybe he's just a weird codger that likes fucking with people. But like I said, it's a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of thinking.
Well, I mean, it is possible he's just an eccentric old dude that had money he didn't know what to do with. That is a possibility. But the very last entry on his Wikipedia page, and again, they have a tendency to just leave things laying around sometimes. It says he has received many commendations about Felicity and the Museum of History in Granite. John C. Bogle, founder of the Vanguard Group, wrote, "You have created an extraordinary monument to all humankind and done so with class and thoroughness."
That's a big credential.
And a very specific compliment.
And Vanguard's one of these big hedge funds, right?
They, depending on who you ask, they are the big hedge fund, because it's Vanguard owns BlackRock and BlackRock owns Vanguard, so it's kind of hard to tell which one's number one and which one's number two. But yeah,
they've got a 401k fund that's got a decent return right now.
Huh. Yeah, you know, like, again, the Georgia Guidestones, like, I just see this as being a very similar thing. And I have yet to like hear a sound argument as to who or why they were blown up, you know? Like, this shit just feels a little too biblical for my comfort level, if you catch my drift. And like this whole thing about, you know, I skipped through a lot of the video about the children's book, but there's so much in that like story that's very bizarre. Like, the whole thing is that the dragon is going to come up from beneath through the center of the world. Okay. In other words, the reptile, the serpent, you know, Satan. Like, I think this guy is like trying to build a like welcoming pad for Satan. So, you know, he can come back, read through the history, get caught up on what's happening. You know, I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but like, there's some
I don't
weird...
think Satan and the serpent are the same entity. I think that's one of those things that we sort of imply. But yeah, it's interesting. And then, you know, yeah, that's a whole thing to dig into.
Are we still on this? Did you want me to share this, or it's actually kind of strange when you start seeing it?
I'd like to see from the air. Yeah. Because we saw it from the air at the center of the world.
All right. Let me know if this is coming through, because I can't see shit. Is it showing up?
No. You try hitting that present button.
Well, it says, hold up.
So this guy could be a Satanist, like a practicing Satanist. And
right,
maybe he built the chapel and everything with the hopes that would be the center where the false, I don't know all the details, but you know, there's like a fake Jesus that comes back and turns out to be the Satan or whoever the hell shows up. People follow him unwittingly. Maybe he's hoping the Antichrist. That's the word I'm looking for. Maybe the Antichrist, the fake Satan, the fake Jesus. The Antichrist shows up and uses his facility that he's created for his, you know, evil purposes. Maybe that could be what he's trying to do there.
So when you look at this from Google, it looks like there's a bunch of parking lots, and then there is a ton of holes. I mean, they go, I'd say probably a mile, maybe you know, 3/4 of a mile, but there's just a bunch of holes, and they're all about the same size, but they stop about I guess it'd be the front of the mound. So,
yeah, I wish you could show us.
Well, I'll try it again, but this fucking Mac is not real user friendly.
I mean, like Ando said earlier, like, we're not going to crack this code per se, but it's, to me, a major what the fuck. And it's like, I don't know, dude. Like, now that exists on our Earth, you know, I don't know. Like,
well, it existed before we knew about it, right? Like, this place was founded in 1986, so it's been in existence since then. Maybe not in the form that it's currently in. But to me, again, it's all about the timing, right? I had never heard of this place before I saw the article on Vigilant Citizen a few days ago, and was checking it out and going through it, and was like, wow, this is really bizarre and interesting. So I dropped it in the group chat. And I guess that's kind of what actually brought us to be discussing the subject of Felicity, California today. But isn't it interesting that we lose the Georgia Guidestones not quite a year ago? It was almost a year ago to the day.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have Felicity, California to talk about as this odd monument.
So are you suggesting it might be a PSYOP just of its own? Another distraction, or
potentially, or maybe it's like a trail of breadcrumbs, right? Like we're getting little tiny little tidbits of knowledge that we don't actually know what to do with because we don't know what it is. We don't know what it looks like. It's we're being toyed with, essentially.
Yeah. Well, it feels like ceremonial, feels religious.
So yeah, those two figures off in the distance, it looks like it's Jesus and Mother and the Virgin Mary. Yeah, I was gonna say, Mike, do you see anything for me to add that to the stream?
No, I mean, if you have a present button, that's what I would click. But this stuff, it takes a little figuring out. So we can probably move on. Like, that's all I've got on that topic. I just thought it was a major what the fuck. And yeah, dude, I got nothing.
Well, something tells me that probably all of us at some point will be revisiting Felicity, California in the future.
I'll take pictures if I end up out there. It's going to depend on how close it is to that rest area. There's a rest area down that way, and maybe I'm not sure if there'll be Ubers in that area, but I'll see if I have time and I'm passing that rest area. I love driving I-8. It's one of my favorite drives because it's so empty. It's one of the most desolate interstates that there is, and it's short. It's just San Diego until Tucson, just about Tucson. So if I'm down there, I'll check it out and see what boots on the ground can do.
Yeah, see if you get a weird vibe from the old codger.
Oh yeah. I'd love to meet him and see what I can get from him without revealing that I'm a kook. So
yeah, just play like your average American tourist, right?
Play normie as much as I can. I mean, it's kind of hard, but
dude, honestly, it'd be really interesting. I don't know if anybody's done it or if you would even be allowed, but to walk the Granite Museum with a pretty high resolution like video camera and like capture the whole thing so we could kind of analyze that would be interesting. See how he likes to tell our history, right? Because he wrote every page of that stone book,
yeah, that's something that I was pretty interested in is because he's definitely written it from the side of the Allies because he was French and he escaped the United States, and I'd like to see what his take on things is. It's the oh hey, what do you know, the good guys always win, that old thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to address the thing about timing that Drizzle brought up, this is 30 years in the making, and I mean, you could probably build something like that quicker than 30 years if you're like the National Park Service. But for one guy who's like 80 years old now and it's still being worked on, like it is not yet completed, I'm just, I'm like, that's dedication, man. That dude has he has motivation of some kind.
He doesn't have a skid steer. I know that.
He's got an unholy drive.
Yeah. That's my thought.
You guys ought to, if you can find it, there was an old TV show called Beyond Bizarre, and it would profile stuff like this in the show. I remember watching it back in the 90s, and it was on I don't remember what channel, like Discovery Channel or something like that. But it had stuff like this in it. It was kind of interesting.
WTF Forum's taking over that mantle.
Yeah.
At least trying.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some more stuff in our Telegram chat we could go into. I'm happy to open the floor up though, if anybody brought anything.
I did a show with OG Dadbod the other day, Burn Babylon Burn, and we talked about the news, and then I finished the show and I'm posting it, and then I see all this stuff about Wagner, depends on how you pronounce it. And I was like, oh man, this is totally a psyop. And sure enough, it was. So here we are. what is the old line? You guys, Union of the Unknowns always have Justin saying it. Everything is fake until proven gay. So, channeling Justin right there. So, yeah. What do y'all think of that? That was fun watching the NPCs go from completely supporting the Wagner group and then calling them terrorists the next day. That was fun.
Yeah, it looked. I don't know. Of course, I was skeptical as soon as I saw the first headline coming in. There's a coup and this Wagner group's behind it, and I'm like, who the hell are they? And I'm like, oh, that's the Russian special forces or some mercenary group or something works for Russia. And I'm like, what is this? And then he just accepts, okay, I'm going to exile myself to Belarus or whatever the hell the resolution was. I'm like, wait a minute. So he attempted a coup, and Putin's not going to execute this guy? Oh, come on.
So the few weeks leading up to this, all you would hear from a lot of the news was information about Wagner. So that's focus. They grab your focus and they say, hey, put your eyes right here. And then they go action when they have enough eyes. And so the storyline played out. And it played out fast. Man, our psyops are moving so fast. Where it seems like a long time ago that we were talking about aliens and hackers. We still haven't even gotten to that.
Well, and like you said, they kind of highlight stuff that they want. It's like a sleight of hand thing. Like, this is where we want you to look. Wasn't there some coverage about the Titan submarine, like in the days leading up to the implosion? Like, it was already on the news cycle, as if they knew something terrible was going to happen. Am I wrong about that?
There's a lot.
I don't remember hearing
a lot
about
that they hid with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there was some like coverage of it where they're like, yeah, billionaire so-and-so and his son are going on a trip to the Titanic, and 3 days later, oh, everybody died,
Could be. I don't know. I only remember hearing about them being lost. That was the first headline that caught my eye. And then there was like so much coverage of it. And then, Obama came out later and he's like, why did they cover these guys so much when this other ship of 700 immigrants died? And, when you read that article, it was something like 30 immigrants died. But
well, what broke last week, right? Hunter taking a plea deal, right?
Yeah.
The Biden whistleblower, were they not just magically found dead last week? And then what does it come out that the Navy knew that there was an implosion that they had detected on their system they've got underwater on Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, they're just running coverage for, whatever they've got going on in the background. I mean, I think we can all agree that impeachment is a sham at this point, but, there was the impeachment measure put forth in the House. So,
Mike, go to Telegram. I just put a little clip of a guy from TikTok who is talking about all the things that are happening this week that they covered up with this Titan submarine.
Unfortunately, that is the worst Flex Seal ad ever. They'll never recover from that one.
Well, I had a question for y'all. I was wondering, why do you think the Russia thing happened so quickly? I will say that I really hadn't paid that much attention to it. And I just assume at this point that whatever I'm hearing from the mainstream about Russia, Ukraine, all that stuff is not true. And then I thought that this could either be, when I first heard it, I didn't do any deep dive, but I thought it's probably like it's either Russian propaganda for some reason, the fog of war, trying to confuse people or whatever, or it is our own government doing that to us, like propaganda for some reason. But I don't know why they're putting it here, but I question why it's here. And I think that it's like Legal Man says, basically, if anything is in the mainstream news for longer than an hour, then it is part of the 179 degree club, which means whatever they're telling you, look in the opposite direction. So I kind of just keep that thought with me whenever a big thing starts happening. But in this case, I thought it was extremely weird that it was over that quickly. And I wondered if it is because people online are now calling these things out as false flags or coup or whatever, like a lot quicker. Is that making a difference? Why they're like, oh, it's over? I mean, what do you think?
Well,
no, this I'll chime in real quick and say this is an appetizer. This is setting the stage for something else in the future involving this individual and probably something that Russia keeps in Belarus. If he's still alive, I'll couch it with that. If he's still alive.
It's funny you say that because what did they do about a month ago when the Bakhmut or whatever failed? He was yelling that they were running out of ammo and that they were going to leave if they didn't get more supplies and everything. And then suddenly Bakhmut fell. And then last week, what do we have? Fruity Lindsey Graham talking about the Article 5 was going to be invoked if there was a nuclear weapon used in Ukraine. And what do we know? The week before, they blew a dam that is the source of cooling water for the reactors at the nuke plant that's in Russian control. I mean, it's too convenient at this point.
Correct. Yeah. Once you start connecting all those dots to one another, it becomes pretty obvious what the play was here.
Here's the video that Ando mentioned.
Titan. All week I've been fascinated with this story. Billionaire trapped in the bottom of the sea in search of the Titanic. They'll take 6 hours to get there and only 8 hours of oxygen. Suspense. Will they live? Will they die? Duped by the fucking media again. Monday, the Titan is missing. Tuesday, there's a banging sound. Wednesday, they're running out of air. Thursday, oh no, we found the wreckage. But the entire time, they knew it was BS. U.S. Navy knew the sub already blew up on Sunday, but they distracted us, again, to hide the news cycle. What happened this week? Let's do a quick recap on what you missed. JP Morgan and Jeffrey Epstein emails were released. And now they have just mistakenly deleted 47 million emails. Joe Biden is undergoing an impeachment vote in the House, or at least trying. The Pentagon fat-fingered $6 billion to Ukraine. Hunter Biden gets a slap on the wrist while FBI whistleblowers are going missing. And John Durham had his congressional hearing this week regarding the Russia hoax. But I was so busy wondering about the billionaire who decided to go boating in a submersible soda can, missed it all. Titan.
So that pretty much summed it up.
So this submarine had been used several times in the past. Did the U.S. Navy like zap it to make it implode and just to make this news story wallpaper?
Supposedly there had been like warnings about the design. I heard something about that.
Yeah, this is like the Fisher-Price starter set of submarines. Like, it's probably put together with like epoxy, fiberglass, and like some sort of real like weak, mild steel. So there were already concerns about it. I mean, you can see the CEO talking about it. He's like, oh, we got this light from Camping World. Like, all the memes about them running the sub with a controller, it's like, oh, it ought to be like an elevator. We just press one button. I mean, this was doomed to fail. Like, I don't know if y'all know anything about pressure vessels, but like for you to actually have a pressure vessel, there are numerous ways that you certify it. I mean, it's fairly uniform because, it's a fucking bomb. Like if something goes wrong, it either goes out or it'll crush in.
We talked about that Friday. That it was interesting that they had the sonic boom story from a few weeks ago with the plane crashing in Virginia. Sonic boomed over DC and freaked everybody out, right? Well, that is the pressure loss there versus the high pressure of being under the sea. And I think it's really interesting that they put those two stories in a sequence where they contrast, you know?
Well, even the sonic boom, right? You know, they're legally not supposed to go whatever Mach and sonic boom over the United States, right? They're only supposed to be hitting the afterburners and going that fast if it's, you know, case of emergency, they're scrambling jets.
Do we know what kind of plane it was? Commercial, military?
That was just like a little Cessna or something that somebody lost control of and went in the side of the mountain.
Yeah, it wasn't a prop, but it was a private jet, probably like
it was a private jet. It wasn't a Cessna
seat or something like that. Well, it was a Cessna, but it was a Cessna jet.
Okay, that's right. I thought it was a Lear, but I'm not sure.
So they have private jets that can go that fast?
I suppose, yeah. That is kind of shocking because
well, I don't think it was that fast, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in that part of the DC part of the world that's protected airspace. What is it? They call it MOA or MAO or something.
Like military aircraft only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the jet that was deployed to go check on that made the sonic boom, right?
I see.
Okay.
That would make more sense.
Yeah, that was my understanding from that story.
Because Mach 1 is pretty damn quick. We only broke the sound barrier in like I guess it was early in like jet technology, but that was the fastest anybody had ever gone on planet Earth was hitting Mach 1, you know, breaking the sound barrier.
Was that Chuck Yeager, or did the Russians beat us on that one too?
Not sure. I'm not that schooled on the history of it all.
Because I know Chuck Yeager was the first American. I don't know if he was the first human to go past Mach 1.
Yeah, weird.
If only we had a device in our hands that we could look these things up.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It seems like everything's going mad. Like I'm doing an episode tomorrow with a friend of mine, and we're gonna talk about like just the madness, people losing it, you know. And like today, dude, I was just having a coffee, like sitting trying to read my book out in front of this coffee shop, trying to find some peace and quiet, basically in this mad city, and this crazy, probably homeless guy comes over and starts just talking. Like sits down at the same table as me and is just talking at me and making no goddamn sense. and at one point I hear him say something about looks kind of fruity, kind of gay or whatever. I like looked over at him and I looked around and there was like nobody around. I go, "Are you talking to me or are you talking about me?" He said, "Yeah." Like, "All right, man." I said, "Have a good one. Peace out. Thanks for fucking my morning up. I was chilling here until you showed up." But people are crazy, dude. People are crazy and times are strange, as the great Bob Dylan said.
People are strange when you're a stranger.
What, should I just been friends with the crazy homeless guy instead? Then he wouldn't be so strange. No, I think he was just strange, you know.
I would have asked him what tipped him off that you were gay.
Yeah, well,
like
probably that I was reading a book at a coffee shop, and he's just like, "Fucking faggot." Yeah.
No, man, you went to the Pride Parade today. Don't lie.
Yeah, I would have turned it back around on him. I would have been like, "Oh, that's a really superficial reason to think somebody's gay."
I was wearing my support trans kids T-shirt, but I I figured that doesn't say it one way or the other as far as I'm concerned. I just support trans kids.
So y'all, if you want to indicate to homeless men that you're gay, I have a great book for you. Hey Duke 2029 by Michael T. Whistler.
Hilarious.
Get your books at easypeasy.ittybitty.tips. You'll find a link there. Please support Mike and buy his book.
I don't even pay him to say this stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah. See, I'm a good promo guy.
Yeah.
I used to do radio.
Yeah, actually, the second edition is going to drop pretty soon. I finally sat down and went through and found the numerous typos that slipped through my first screening process. You know, when you're broke and can't afford to pay an editor, you do your best. But version 2,
See, these are
coming soon.
the copies. Copy number 1 with all the typos and all that. The original print that's going to be selling for like $500 on the internet years from now.
There's only about 50 of them out there. So
when is book 2 coming? Because
thinking about starting. I've been mulling around a few ideas, but yeah, this summer I might do another. Debating, you know, do I want to go like sci-fi? Do I want to go espionage? Maybe both. Yeah, the last one was sort of like a dystopian modern Western. And yeah, so I want to go a different direction with the next one, but we'll see.
Ooh, I got one.
Yeah.
Lesbianage.
Ooh. What, like
Sorry.
like double agent rug munchers? We could call it that.
Yeah, that's a great name. I think it'll sell.
It'll sell like hotcakes. Yeah.
If you're lucky, you can write a couple of sci-fi novels and you'll gain a huge following, and then you can start your own religion and become some wild millionaire, powerful guy.
Well, I think the middle of the earth is still open for grabs. So I'm going to do the middle of the earth.
No, somebody got that.
No, that was Middle Earth, not the middle of the earth. I know where your head's
Little
at,
Earth.
What, Whittle?
Little Earth. It's it's just Earth, but it's everybody's smaller and everything's smaller. It's exact same otherwise.
Dude, did you see that? That was a episode of come on, what was that that classic old TV show with all the sci-fi and twisty?
Star Trek?
No,
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone. That was an old Twilight Zone episode where you had it showed this lady in a house and there was no talking, and then a weird aliens showed up and landed their craft in her attic, and little tiny aliens came out and were shooting at her with these tiny guns, and she went up in the attic and she smashed the UFO with a big rock, and it panned over to the side and it said like USAF along the edge of the UFO. So it was implying that the US had sent a ship into space and landed on an alien planet full of giants, and that was like the weird twist.
Huh. I never did watch any Twilight Zone personally. I was more an X-Files guy.
Twilight
Zone. Oh, you gotta go find the original and watch some of those episodes.
Absolutely.
Speaking of aliens, has anybody besides me been to Roswell?
Mm-mm.
No,
oh,
it's
man,
terrible.
It is,
It's
but
so
there's
lame.
no doubt that something got covered up. It's actually outside of the alien shit. It's actually a pretty cool place to be because you're close to a lot of cool shit. I think there's a bottomless
Did you find
lake.
Did you find something other than Applebee's to do?
No. I actually I ate soup in my room.
Oh,
big money right there.
That you ordered from Applebee's?
No, well, there was actually a restaurant. I think it was Mexican at the Hampton Inn I stayed at. But I was like, nah, you know what? I've been on the road for like 12 hours. I'm just gonna go to bed. But anyway, that's a great part of the world.
How do you visit Roswell and not stay at the Little Ailey Inn?
That's not in Roswell.
That's not in Roswell?
That's in Nevada. That's in I forgot the name of the city, but it's in Nevada. It's the one that's close to Area 51.
Yeah.
Rachel, Nevada, I believe. It might be something like that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing on Roswell. The crash, supposed crash, we don't know if it was a crash or not, right? Right? Y'all are with me on that?
I think there was something that happened there, right?
Okay, the supposed crash happened miles and miles away from Roswell. The reason why Roswell gets credit for it is because that's where the Air Force Base is. Mm-hmm. So they took the remains of the thing that they crashed. Oops. I mean, so they crashed their own equipment is my theory, and went and recovered it and made this whole thing up because they need that mythology out there. And it's still, I mean, they're still trying to profit off of this this whole alien psyop that they've been doing. They've been doing this since when? Before the, let's see, War of the Worlds was the first one, right?
So it makes me think of something actually. Earlier, Stella said that she saw on the wiki page, I think for the center of the world, she says in the comments that it used to be an Air Force base. And I wonder if the digging might have happened then. And it also makes me wonder about this parachuting French American who's building this shit over top of what maybe used to be an Air Force base. The fact that he was in the goddamn Air Force, right? I mean,
yeah, what's he digging up there too?
Well, like I said, maybe the digging happened before he took charge of the property, but perhaps, he's poured a lot of concrete and laid a lot of granite, kind of trying to obscure the evidence of whatever digging was going on. And it's almost curious that it's been done with such a flurry of, in such a short-ish time scale, right as like satellite imagery technology is becoming more widespread and available. And yeah, I mean, if he is trying to cover up those holes, he's not doing the best job, but it is enough to obscure it, at least from the ground. I don't know. Just some thoughts.
Did you go to the museum when you were there, OG Dabud?
Yeah, it was a gigantic waste of time and money.
It was like a diorama made by 8th graders. It's the worst museum that I've ever been to, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Although it wasn't as bad as having to pay $35 to get into a fucking national park. So.
Oh yeah, you got to get that Parks Pass. The Parks Pass is, I think it's about $100, and it lasts.
Bro, I got 4-wheel drive. I got Parks Pass.
Cha-ching.
So just to clarify, Ando, you believe that this was likely, like with Roswell and Area 51, it's likely military or kind of like off the books operations.
DARPA tech, like all that stuff that they're testing, all the things that they're about 50 years ahead of us. They've had things like batteries that don't run out for decades now, and we don't get a hold of some of this technology because there's no profit in it.
Right.
But then the other technology that they can leak out, like the AI that we're seeing right now is probably the AI that they were dealing with 20-30 years ago.
Right.
So yeah, they have all kinds of stuff that they keep secret and keep away from us.
Yeah. I kind of, from Annie Jacobs' book about Area 51, I kind of got, I was kind of thinking that like, this is military stuff. It's just them testing way advanced, weaponry and equipment and stuff like that. That's what it sounded like.
So this PSYOP maybe goes back even further than we are talking here. Stella makes a good point. Apparently Orson Welles was also a Freemason, and War of the Worlds was like one of the OG PSYOPs. They did the radio broadcast version and people lost their damn minds. It was one of our, modern cases of mass psychosis, right?
Well, let's go even one step beyond that. Back even before the radio play, let's go back to the man who wrote the story, War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells, who is a known Fabian socialist.
So wait, H.G. Wells, Orson Welles, which one's which? Orson, H.G.
So H.G. Wells is Orson Welles' uncle.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And Corbett did an amazing job of covering War of the Worlds. I highly recommend that. So go to thecorbettreport.com or CorbettReport.com. Don't say the Corbett Report. CorbettReport.com. Look for War of the Worlds in the search. It's hard to find the search sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, but there is a search, and go get it and learn some stuff.
So you think he was like a government spook, or just like a deep state? Like, that's the thing. I think there's almost a separation, right?
Well,
with the government, the deep state, and the, I was going to say the secret societies and all that shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
ahead.
H.G. Wells also wrote a book called The Open Conspiracy, in which was laid out the plan that will unfold over the course of time in order to lead all of humanity into a one world technocratic state. So when you factor in War of the Worlds as part of the psychological operation of herding the population in the direction that they want them to go, it all kind of starts to fall into place.
You know, as usual, this forum never disappoints me. You know, like, we each bring a little something different, right? I did not think we'd end up talking about War of the Worlds with where we started, the center of the world. You know, how funny. It's just like this overlap of, I hate to say it, but like literature, and, you know, there's the children's book that foretells the building of the center of the world, and there's H.G. Wells talking about the open conspiracy, and like these people are so proud of their endeavors that they tell us bluntly about it. We just don't take them seriously.
Revelation of the method.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they don't want us to necessarily take them too seriously, so they can keep doing it.
Well, that part of it is that if they tell you that they're doing it, they're openly telling you that they're doing it, and you don't stop them, then you're consenting. It's a weird thing with the way that they do their magic.
Almost a dark contract of some kind, a verbal dark contract. Like the guy said, analyzing like the layout of the center of the world, he said it was an interesting little tangent. I've never watched any of this guy's videos before, but I think I'll go through and see other stuff he's covered, because I liked him, even though he's a bit out there with some of it. But he says, you know, this is what I'm telling you guys about, like, don't trust the leaders. They don't have your best interest at heart. And when you vote, you consent to it all. Like, why do you think it's become so common for people to be repulsed by the idea of voting? Because they don't want to consent to what's being done. And yeah, man, there is something, like, part of his analysis of the children's book, there was a page where you know, Ko, the good dragon, is standing next to like his father, who is like a judge and lawyer type dragon, and he has these books that are like fireproof, which is foretelling of the granite slabs. And he is, you know, the books he's standing over are like history, law, like fashion. It was like a weird, like 4 or 5 different books, and it was all like dragon history, dragon law, dragon fashion, whatever. But like, it's interesting to think that like the legal system is kind of the domain of the wicked, right? And these contracts. That's all I
got. And back to kind of the consent aspect of it, like we've been talking about, like you have to invite the vampire in, but many people do in their willful ignorance of what is right in front of their face.
Mm-hmm. Same with the devil. You gotta sell your soul. It's an agreement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, makes me think.
And you do it on a checker floor.
Huh. Yeah, I'll stay out of the Mormon lodges. Hey, if you do go to the center of the world, Ando, just tread lightly. Like, don't stand on the checkerboard and shit.
Oh no, I will not be doing that.
Yeah. God, that'd be so fascinating if you did go. Give us a good report if you do.
I say immerse yourself. Go experience as much as you can. I mean, how else are we going to know what's going on over there?
Well, I'm afraid of unwittingly inviting in the vampire, right? I'm afraid if you look into that Jacques dude's eyes too long, you know, a demon's going to split in two and jump into your body from his, you know, like That's why I'm like, I don't think I would ever go there. It feels like a very unholy place.
You shouldn't go there because it's in California.
Sure.
Excellent point.
Well, we've been going a couple hours. Anybody got any more topics for us before we start winding her down?
I got two things I wanted to just mention.
Sure.
I have enjoyed seeing the internet lose their collective mind over RFK shirtless and working out for
Yeah, dude.
Biden debates. And then the second thing was Alex Jones on the Patrick Bet David podcast. There's some good clips out there, but it's a long slog through those 2 hours.
Yeah, the RFK photo is kind of dope, honestly. Like, holy fuck, look at that, dude. Yeah, like rock on. I'm not giving myself any like extra points in the is he gay or is he not department, but he looked good. And I made a joke on Instagram. I go, maybe instead of democracy, we should just have arm wrestling tournaments for presidents, you know? I know, sorry, that's very not gonna work well for the lady folk that want to be president, but it's a joke.
Hey, Duke, 2029, folks. There you go.
How does that relate on this topic?
I don't know. It's just
You're
you were
just
talking
going-
about gay stuff.
gay stuff. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, it is a bit of a buddy comedy, and those are always slightly homo in their in their undercurrent. But no, it's not gay, dude. He knocks a bitch up in that book.
No, I can't wait to read it. I'm just giving you shit. You know,
Yeah. Well, if you ain't
what
read
friends
it,
do.
yeah, let me know how gay it is when you're done. All right. But anywho, yeah. And the other thing you said, OG, remind me.
Alex Jones was on the Patrick Bet David podcast. There's a bunch of clips starting to circulate. I think it's right at 2 hours. But you know how Alex Jones is when he gets on anything. It's a good laugh.
What exactly was he covering?
I haven't gotten that far into it.
Okay.
After about 10 minutes, I'd turn it off.
Huh. Okay. Well, I don't know nothing about that. I haven't seen any of that. You know, I did see. I did not do Twitter like at all until the last couple months. But I'll be damned. Like the comments section's pretty interesting sometimes, just to get a read on people's opinions. And the video of him like pumping iron, right, doing a bench press, there was just some interesting back and forth where you got your lefty normies saying, oh yeah, like what we need for a president is a power lifter, blah, 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 power lifter, anti-vaxxer. And somebody immediately underneath, I'm sure it's ranked based on likes or whatever. It's not chronological, but somebody's like, well, physical fitness leads to good like mental health and good decision making. And this, that, and the other, like there are studies, link here, link here, link here. And it's just, there is a valid argument. Like if somebody doesn't stay fit, like if they're not healthy, why should we, like, if they can't be trusted with their own health, why should we trust our health to them?
We haven't done it this show, and we might as well do it right now then. Based or bogus RFK Jr.
Yeah, it's worth doing.
Bogus.
Huh?
Bogus.
Y'all
Bogus.
think so, huh?
Yeah.
Bottom of the screen all says bogus. I want to like him, okay? I want to like him. Am I going to go vote for him? Like, no. I don't believe in it. But I'm glad he's in the conversation. I'm going to say based.
He's anti-gun. He required vaccines for his events. He's a bullshit artist.
He required vaccines for his event, even though he's...
Yeah, during the COVID stuff, and he's vaccinated. He and his wife are.
Well, yeah, not to mention that he comes from a family of organized crime.
Nothing to see there.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is, government organized crime. I guess maybe we should get him in office, but, hey.
Yeah, I'm going bogus.
I don't really. I haven't been paying close enough attention to him, so I don't have that much of an opinion about him, but he is a politician, so fuck him.
He's also a lawyer.
Fuck him twice then.
So his expose on Fauci though is pretty useful, and I would say that's pretty based, and feel free to use that, distribute that, etc. But as far as election season or selection season, as a lot of people call it, there's always some false savior, and this one is sort of the trajectory of being the new hope that and everybody's going to be disappointed in the end, and it's not going to play out well. So I mean, I can already see it coming.
So I've been thinking about this too, and I almost feel like it's more of the demoralization campaign that we have been subjected to for a very long time, right? So I think that it has been so dreadful with the scamdemic and with Biden at the helm and the constant threat of World War III, and people are feeling the pain in their wallet because food prices have gone up, all of that stuff, right? So I think that people are seeing someone that they believe is telling the truth about something that's really important, which would be Fauci, COVID, all of that stuff. People are so desperate for someone in authority to not be gaslighting them and to actually be addressing and asking real questions that no other politician has been subjected to in these last many, many years, And so I feel like and Stella had said in the comments, Pied Piper. And I do think that, because I think that he is literally bringing the sides together, because that was a lot of different people that didn't believe in what was happening. So I almost feel like they are going to Bernie Sanders him, but he will be popular with such a bigger crowd. And then I think that you're going to have like 4 more years of Biden or something like that, or like Buttigieg or something. I think that is going to be what is kind of.
God, please no.
I think that's a reasonable point, that it would almost split the Republican vote more than
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. So I think we'll have 4 more years of a Biden-esque situation. And then I think that they have been working on fracturing the conservative party, right? And it definitely started with Trump, because you have rhinos, you have never Trumpers, you have MAGA extremists that are the domestic terrorists, and we all know with like OKC, that narrative has been laid and been being laid out for us for a very long time. So I think that was the goal. So they've been working on fracturing and like shattering like a piece of glass in every way, right? Like they're even doing that to the LGBTQ community, right? If you're just a gay person or a lesbian person and you don't understand the trans situation, then they're calling you a TERF, and they're kind of almost lumping you in with domestic terrorist extremists because you have an opinion that is different than that. So I think it's part of a fracturing campaign, but I do think that splitting the Republican Party is an important goal. So I think they're going to be accomplishing that with this. Then they're going to further the demoralization campaign with a horrible president again. And then I think after that, you will get, a very charismatic character that a lot of people are coming behind, because you have to have somebody that's likable and reasonable to usher in the CBDC and the surveillance state. Now, what is the timeline of them doing that? I don't know, but I just feel like that's important, that they have to have somebody after this shit show that people are like, oh, wow, it's a breath of fresh air, even though they know that the election isn't real anymore. Like it may never, I mean, how long has it been? I don't know, but that's where I think.
Long time.
Yeah.
I think you're on the right path. I mean, I don't think Biden will make it through another 4 years. Endo and I were talking about, I think they'll have somebody like Whitmer or Newsom come in. If that's the facade they want to keep up.
They probably have about 30 different Biden clones, but the thing is, all all the crime is following him a little bit too hard, and so they're going to have to retire the clone, and maybe he'll retire right off into the sunset, go to Tel Aviv and sit on the beach next to Jeffrey Epstein, or maybe they'll just retire him like they do Kennedy's.
Yeah.
I was cracking up. I like going back and listening to our forums after the fact because I'm often so trying to think ahead and do computer stuff or whatever. I miss stuff and it's fun to listen. And I was cracking up when we were talking about how Fetterman might be like a Biden clone gone wrong. So, okay, I got to pull up this shit I made. I'm proud of it, even though it got like 7 likes. But I made a meme out of Fetterman and young Frankenstein, and I think it's pretty funny.
I think we mentioned that he looked like Frankenstein on the episode, right?
Yeah, I think we did. That's what like gave me the idea.
He's like the troll under the bridge.
Right. All right, here it is. You'll like this.
Wait, what about the audio only people?
Oh, it's audio. You'll get it. It's fine.
Oh, okay, good.
So for the audio only people, the caption says human puppets, who pulls their strings?
What was once an inarticulate mass of lifeless tissues, may I now present a cultured, sophisticated man about town.
The delegation to make sure that we get this fixed quick, fast as well too. This is a president that is committed to infrastructure law of the inflation.
Dressed up like $1 million trooper, trying mighty hard to look like Gary Cooper.
Kind of a law of the inflation bill that.
So yeah, that was just me being silly or whatever. But like, there was something about the Gene Wilder, and I'm trying to remember the other guy's name, Peter something.
Peter Boyle.
Peter Boyle, thank you. Tap dancing around together, and like just the show of it all, and like comparing it to the video of Biden and Fetterman, sort of tap dancing around, putting on a show, and like being pretty incoherent. And the music is just funny too. It's almost like a circus act, like.
Hey, the Drizzle, what's your Twitter name?
Which account?
You know the one I'm talking about right now. What's the one that relates to the situation?
Yeah, it's John Futterman's Neuralink.
I love that name. It was hilarious. I thought it might have been Dennis at first.
This circles back around. We started this conversation talking about Elon fighting Zuckerberg, and now we're talking about Neuralink. Here we go. Ouroboros of the WTF Forum.
It's all full circle, man, as usual. Well, maybe we should wrap her up there. What do you say? Well, we usually go around the circle one more time and give plugs once more. So I'll take the burden off of Ando's shoulders and say, Hey Duke 2029, if you want a good read. In about a week or so, I'll have the cleaner manuscript, but honestly, like, it was good enough. The story reads, there were just missing bits and bobs as far as grammar and punctuation. But that and the Easy Peasy podcast, you can find all my stuff at easypeasy.ittybitty.tips. How about Ashley?
Oh, you can find me on Union of the Unknowns, our podcast, and we have our Linktree page, unionoftheunknowns.com, and that's where you can find all of our stuff. We're fairly recently added our stuff to Rockfin, and you can get in touch with me at Union Unknowns on Twitter.
Yep, I'm Keel Thor, Union of the Unknowns. I don't really have a social media presence, but everything that Ashley just said also applies to me.
I'm Ando. I do Burn, Babble, and Burn and the Doom Kitchen. You can find that at libertylinks.io/the Doom Kitchen. And if you want to email me, I have the Doom Kitchen at protonmail.com.
OG Dadbod 1, Whole Lot of Nothing podcast. I'm on YouTube right now, but I've got to get the RSS feed fired up because it's just a matter of time before I get nuked.
It's a matter of time before we all get nuked, man. I am the Drizzle, host of Grand Theft World Liberty Radio. You can hang out with us every Saturday night. You can dance party, you can freak out, whatever, but it's all over on the Odyssey channel, and you can find your way to that at manufacturingreality.org.
Right on, y'all. Well, it's been a good one as always. Thanks for coming on to the WTF Forum.
Opinions are their own.
Wrong one. Trying to do the outro. Damn it. I was so close, Ando. I even was like fading it in. But yeah. We'll get there. We're learning. And yeah, if we don't get zucked, you might keep hearing from us. We'll catch you next time.